Welcome to another episode of A Moment with Khadijah. I am your host, Khadijah Taylor, and today we have a great podcast. Yes, we have Spirit Child here. He is an artist, a freedom fighter, creative mind, an artist of great magnitude. And when it comes to music and bringing a message through his music, he is amazing. His interview is a balance of who he is and what he does and how he feels about his community and the way that he lives within that community. We're going to listen to a little piece of one of his songs called Gator Bait. And if you know what that term means, you will understand who are the Gator Baits.
Oh Lord, what they say, run away, get away. We Maroons, yeah. We Maroons. Oh Lord, Gator Bay, hell nah, we won't wait.
I was reading a little of your bio. You are from the South Bronx.
From the South Bronx, yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is amazing because I study in the job corps that is in the South Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the South Bronx. What is it? Andrews Avenue and something else. Yeah, in that area.
Yeah.
I don't remember the main avenue, but it was like in the back. I used to live in Queens when I used to go there.
Okay.
a long time.
Yeah, pretty far trek.
Yes, and amazing enough, I survived.
Mm.
Who is Soul Child? Spirit Child.
Yeah. Who am I? I'm a Afro Indígena Maroon from the South Bronx. Freedom singer, songwriter, revolutionary, lover of words, pedagogue, teach young people, DJ as well. So yeah, I dabble in a few things. I'm a Gemini, so I do a lot of things to keep my mind busy.
Well, I had many Geminis in my life. My mother, my husband, and they are yes, they're busy. They're busy people. It's like having two persons in the same room at the same time, and you don't know which one you're gonna get. When the sun rises. Definitely not. Exactly. They're very artistic and articulated people.
Oh, thanks. Right on. Yeah.
I want you to explain a little bit to my audience, what is a Maroon?
Yeah, so a Maroon.
Or who is a Maroon?
Who is a Maroon? Maroons are people who have either never been enslaved or have been captured, and those who chose to no longer remain as a slave. So those who are fugitives, those who are exiled, those who left the plantation. So Maroons would be people like Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, even today going to Jamaica, Suriname, Venezuela. Wherever there was colonization, there was people who resisted. And those people, those Africans who resisted, also connected with the indigenous peoples, so Seminoles, Taino, Arawak, wherever they were landed, they tended to find allies, and we just merged together. So a lot of times, you'll see communities where some of the indigenous people, unfortunately, were terminated through the atrocity of slavery and genocide because they couldn't handle the conditions. The Africans remained, but within the Africans remaining, there was that combination. There was that connection, that solidarity, but also like the merging, right? So people would intermarry, to continue the legacy. But yeah, those are Maroons, and today Maroons are people who choose to resist continuously, to not live on this plantation, um, to try to find a new way to prefigure new society, um, dealing with police brutality and all the things that we have to deal with, all the oppressions, just no longer condoning it or conforming to it, but resisting and trying to do anything we can do by any means necessary for our liberation. So those are the Maroons of today. There quite a few of us. Some people would feel that if you weren't an actual child, um, a descendant of a Maroon, then you're not considered a Maroon. We feel in our Maroon Party for Liberation that the extension, with respect and without trying to uh, have cultural appropriation, the extension of a Maroon is an ideology. It's an ideology of one, not just a color, it's not just an ethnicity, it's not that you had to be a descendant of an African who was formerly enslaved, who resisted and no longer is in slavery. For us, Maroons are people who are continuing to hold that legacy, and honor and principle, and to try to free as many of us as possible to get off the plantation, like Harriet.
Well, something that you said about appropriation.
Uh-huh.
I also learned, about appropriation, but we have to also learn that not everything is appropriation. It's integration. That's the word, integration.
Integration.
Okay, we're not trying to take something from somebody else. We're just trying to become part of, so we can succeed in whatever else we want to do. Yes. You had a conversation, and I'm gonna get back to you, but you had a conversation with Felicia Pagan.
Uh-huh.
That's my heart. That's my mom, my star, my everything.
Yeah.
So how that went? I mean, to meet somebody like her. I mean, I've been trying to meet her since I was a kid.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yes.
Oh.
So she's about 20, almost about 18, 19 years older than I am. So
Okay.
yes, since I was a kid.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Nice. Yeah, Dilcia. I've known Dilcia for some time now. And we're honored to figure a way to now work closer together. I've done like shows where she was there or speaking engagements. Uh, but over the past few years, we were able to invite her within our Maroon Party for Liberation to just be, I won't say elder because she doesn't like that term, but to be the wise woman and soul that she is, right? And to share her wisdom with us. And this started from in 2020, we did a political education course for Black August. So we had Black Panthers, Black Liberation Army members, and then we did one segment where we honored the Young Lords, the FALN, and talked about the macheteros and stuff, right? So we wanted to include that as a solidarity to say like Black August is not just, well, obviously brown is an extension of Black, but for those people who are a little bit more narrow-minded, we wanted to open up the conversation and say Black August extends to Boricua, extends to Taino, extends to Arawak, it extends to Seminole. Black August is that resistance, right? So she came to speak, and she was like, you know how she is. She was like, hey, whatever, like this is great. When you guys want to come over, come down. So we've been thinking, right? Like as Maroons, what would it look like to go out there? What will we do? Obviously, Loíza, she's in Loíza, which is a Maroon community, like the Quilombos in Brazil, or, in Portmore in Jamaica. Like there's certain communities that are actually significant of keeping and maintaining the culture of resistance, especially through arts and food and everything, traditionally as Maroons, as people who were just like trying to just get away from this slavery. So in talking to her, we work with young people. We work with young people in prison. We work with young people in the school system, public school systems. My partner, she's a teacher, so we've done many after school programs. We've done summer camps in Iceland and Belgium. And we were like, well, Boricua, like, it's not, like, Borica is not that far. We don't have to go to Europe to do a summer camp. We can go right here, and we have connections and we have people that we're talking to. Me personally, my direct lineage is I'm Puerto Rican and Jamaican. And I'm not as connected as most of us are who are New Yorican, so much to the island, right?
Exactly.
And that's right. That's a thing. Just like Africans who are living in America who are disconnected from a little bit further, but disconnected from their roots in Africa.
Exactly.
We tend to like have that. And my mother always gets on me. She still speaks to me in Spanish, and I respond to her in English, and like that's how I grew up. And my Spanish ain't that good, and all that stuff. Like all y'all know, if you Afro Latino, you know what it is. You know what it is.
Yes, we know, because I have my children. Okay, my two, Brian and Candace. Oh my goodness, Jamaican and Chinese and Puerto Rican, and they don't know Spanish.
Right.
So yes, I understand very well how that feels. And for me, I grew up only speaking Spanish.
Cool.
I did. I learned English when I went actually to high school in Queens.
Oh, wow.
That's when I learned English. That's why I still have an accent. And even if I went to Rutgers, I mean, a degree doesn't mean anything. It just means that you spend your money. Let me leave it as that. But still, I can tone it down if I want to, but I really don't, because this is who I am. And I love it. It's just like when Jamaicans speak, you know who they are. And and people from the islands, you will know definitely who they are. So Spirit Child, where's this name? Where it came from? Hey,
oh yeah, came from my mama. My mama. I was going through. I'm an artist, right? So I was going through trying to figure out a name, and I was going through a transformation when I was around 12, 13. And she said, well, you're looking all over. I had Billy the Kid, Billy Blast. I had this whole like, I used to do like little gangster rap, like when I was young and before I became a little bit more like aware of what I should be probably doing in the world. I dabbled in many things, right? Like many of us. And she was like, well, you're a child of the spirit, you know. And I was like, okay. And she was like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool, that'll be it, spirit child. So I like that. And my family, like many of us who are from the diaspora and who connect and merge, so we practice, you know, we practice santeria, um lukumi, like we have that in our tradition. So that's where that spirituality, and what I liked about the name was that it actually is not limited to this kind of angelic spirit, because what I've learned about the spirit is that the spirit can be good, can be bad, can be helpful, can be not helpful. You know, like there's many aspects of the spirit. So I like the neutrality of that, and I kept it. You know, ever since I was young,
Definitely,
you know, I was
definitely.
like, this is cool. I could be how I want to be, who I want to be, and not be confined to like this is who you are. So I want the flexibility to be able to fly. You know?
Definitely, definitely. So uh something that I read in your bio,
Mm-hmm.
um, that music, that music, where, because I know you fuse a lot of island rhythms and you have a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps the message. It soothes while you're listening. You know, some of them are upbeat, the other ones you have to really listen and pay attention. Especially, you know, like I told you, my favorite,
Mm.
where Gator Child came from.
Mm. Yeah. Thanks. That song came from well, we were, so around 2020 is pretty much when we started our liberation school, right? When they shut everything down, we started it online. We were doing it, but not in the way we're doing it now. Now we do every Monday. We have political education. We have different themes, etc. And during this time, I'm pretty sure you were aware of, but there was a huge um, backlash or demonstration, right, in the streets. So we all took to the streets and we marched from, for George Floyd, we marched from, and all victims of police brutality and assassinations. But we marched from Harlem all the way down. We were actually in the Heights, and we went all the way down to, we ended at the People's Church, which we also organized very closely with. And the rally ended there. And from that, some of the elders were like, we need to keep this energy going and let's do a documentary. The documentary, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to come out because the brother who was the filmmaker, the director, died in 2021, I believe.
Oh, subhanallah.
Yeah, yeah. And he
Mm.
was a really close friend of our communities, and he was helping to facilitate a process of getting the momentum, you know, like
Mhm.
all these young kids, they're like, oh, but then obviously we know that anytime there's an outburst, we need the direction and guidance of the elders. Otherwise, it's just a real big reaction and then nothing happens, right? Which is what we're seeing the effects of after few years. Like things have settled down, they quiet down, and there's not enough organizing that as it should be. It could be
Yeah.
more, right? But these conversations, we had a series of interviewing Black Panthers, veterans, veteran BLA members, former political prisoners, also people of the Young Lords. And one sister touched me. Her name was Bunny, Sister Bunny. And she talked about this story. She talked about the story about Black bodies being lynched and women um, having their babies like just ripped out of them as well, you know, and also just like when they gave birth, immediately after they gave birth, they would take them down bayous or whatever have you to the river, and they would feed these babies, our babies, you know, and that hit me hard, and I was just uh revisiting and saddened by that horrific truth that we still trying to deal with. And yeah, so I started writing some words down and put a song together, and that was just, you know, that's how I like to take the knowledge and the information. Is how do I keep it in my head, is to make music around it, or to keep it like a, I don't say a lullaby, but you know, like a griot traditional poem or something that can be passed along, hopefully for education. So that's how that song came.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know, from where it came about to the reality of the background of the song and itself, the history behind the song.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's amazing. Um, I also, because I'm going through, because I marked a lot of things.
Okay.
Um, Mental notes.
Yes.
Talk to me about mental notes. Who are they? What are they?
That's cool. Nobody's asked me about mental notes in a long time. We did some research. That's good. Well, mental notes. Thanks for that question too. We were a full band for about over a decade, and I really miss playing with that band. Um, that band we created, I think it was in 1999, and we just played all Lower East Side, Lower Manhattan. So many venues gave us love, where in the 90s, a lot of venues weren't allowing hip hop, especially for live music. So we had our own internal kind of musical revolutions, evolutions in the scene of trying to break through and allow ourselves to even have a freedom of expression. Because people were like, oh, you do that hip hop, it's too violent. You can't come into this establishment. And, you know, we're playing venues like the Blue Note, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, come on, like hip hop can be sophisticated and it can be accessible in different realms. So there's different types of it. And we had to really like, I don't know, orchestrate people's minds differently on how they listened and viewed hip hop. But David Dovo was a bass player. I like to consider him like a musical soulmate of mine. Created a lot of music. We co-produced a lot of stuff. Dimitris Isomopoulos was a guitar player. Then we had another person named Fro, who was a guitar player. We had some fill-ins by this guy named Harold, who's an amazing oud player and also guitar. And we had different things, you know, Iran was on drums, a boy Ty was on drums too, different formations of the band, but it became like this kind of hip hop collective, hip hop fusion collective, where it was a jam band. We put anything together and we played protest rallies. I remember doing like benefits for Al Alda, you know, with the band down in the lower Manhattan, and just having a full band playing protest music for protest with all of our revolutionary people is something that actually, unfortunately, we don't see much anymore, because there's the symbiotic relationship between the movement and music is not the way it should be, which is another conversation. However, there wasn't a lot of support for musicians, so the musicians therefore didn't really support the movement the way I feel.
Well, actually, the support for musicians was there, but not your type of music, not your message.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the problem. You know, let's, you know, Okay, the support is for those who feed the masses with cacophony is what you call when animals, birds make noise.
Oh,
Actually, what I'm trying to say is empty noise.
empty
Okay?
noise.
Empty noise. It makes no sense. Nothing, it's nothing that you can take back. But
Right.
something that can feed a community, that can feed a mind, is not given importance, and it's not given that back support that it needs. You also work with a lot of people. The last poets,
Yeah.
Baraka, Jill Scott,
Yeah.
everyone, and Brian Jackson. I mean, what is this? Where you been? I mean, we need people, and we really don't, underestimate or really don't do research or speak to them. I mean, as a journalist, I like to find out about people. When you mix yourself with my culture, I'm here like, okay, who are you? I want to know. And now I know that you're one of us,
Right.
Completely one of us.
Right.
And I honestly, I really don't care how people take it, but I did not know. And now I know not. And let me make this clear. It's not about color. It's just the fact that I never heard you speak Spanish. I never heard you say that you were Boricua and Jamaican. None of that. So, to make sure people don't start talking nonsense.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah, it's only recently that I've been more vocal, as a like, and I say it now more casually. I usually don't, but like I'm a Yoruba priestess, so like I'm like I'm a santero. So like I do this work, but I don't solicit. I don't go out there and tell people, oh, I do this, I'm my mother is Ochun and my father's Chango and blah, like I don't feel the need to do that, but when I'm in certain intimate spaces, if I feel the mood or need calls for it, I will express a bit more of who I am. But most of the times, I usually keep my identity on the side because it's pretty irrelevant, like what to me what's more relevant is the work that needs to be done.
Exactly, the work that you're doing, that's relevant.
Yeah. So that's why I try to like, but lately I think it's helpful. So lately I've been trying to share a bit more about my personal life. People have been asking me like, come on, like talk about your kids. Talk about, I'm like, okay. Like usually I've been like,
Well, sometimes to get what you need, you have to give a little, and that. You have to give a little of yourself, talk about yourself, but I'm not going to pry in your family because that's something that it's up to you to talk about. I will not do that.
Right.
I'm like an Italian. I don't do kids or wives, maybe, but no, I don't, it's not important. It's important, but it's not in this conversation. Right. And I believe that it's always people out there to do harm. And I believe in the evil eye. So yeah, I keep those things in check and keep on folding clothes. He's folding clothes.
I'm doing laundry. Yeah,
Yeah, such a good partner.
That's what. This is what I do every day. I came home after this whole week and I saw the kids. And I'm like, oh, blah, blah. But my mind is like, okay, I got to redecorate the room and like wash all the clothes that have been piled up. Cause that's what I do. That's my job. And
that's your job.
Don't go nowhere. Second part of this interview coming right up.
What they say, run away, get away.